Nehemiah chapter 4 verses 13 to 15. So, in the lowest parts of the space behind the wall, in other places, I stationed the people by their clans with their swords, their spears, and their bows. And I looked and arose and said to the nobles and to the officials and to the rest of the people, do not be afraid of them. Remember the Lord who is great and awesome, and fight for your brothers, your sons, your daughters, your wives, and your homes. When our enemies heard that it was known to us and that God had frustrated their plan, we all returned to the wall, each to his work. The lowest parts, space behind the walls, and also in open spaces mentioned in verse 13 are the vulnerable points. These are exposed areas, gaps between the constructed portions, walls yet to be closed, or terrains that were low. Keeping guard for these areas are of prime importance as the enemy sees them as entry points. Just like the people are instructed to station guards at the lowest and most exposed parts of the wall, the same principle applies to our spiritual lives. The enemy doesn't usually attack our strongholds first. He targets our gaps, our weaknesses, the parts of our lives where vigilance is low. He targets areas like fear, doubt, anger, or even complacency, and these are like the unfortified walls of our hearts. Unforgiveness, another targeted area in our life. Jesus said in the greatest commandment to love the Lord and to love thy neighbor as thyself. That's why scripture reminds us to be sober minded and vigilant. In 1 Peter 5:8 we read, be sober minded, be watchful. Your adversary, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion, seeking someone to devour. And in Proverbs chapter 4 verse 23 we read, keep your heart with all vigilance, for from it flow the springs of life. Verse 15 explains how the enemy was frustrated. None of his tactics to discourage and stop God's work had worked out. Nehemiah and company prayed continually, day and night, with sincerity and in faith. Their unity was frustrating the enemy. Their fears had vanished, and they were ready, keeping watch for the enemy and building the temple walls. This is a perfect image of how spiritual warfare works, watching and working, praying and building. Jesus said, watch and pray so that you will not fall into temptation in Matthew chapter 26 verse 41. Nehemiah models this beautifully. We see spiritual alertness and active obedience. Spiritual warfare often begins at the places we think are too insignificant to protect, but those are exactly the places the enemy looks for access. Be alert, be on the vigil, watch and build. Have a blessed day.